Hello and welcome back to DDS Workshop. So today I figured I'd do a wood turning since I got my lathe all fixed up, ready to go. I got my new chisels, so I can start practicing with those and see how that goes. So yeah, I got myself a piece of maple from the backyard, from the tree I cut down last year. There is a small crack on it. I think that might get bigger, but we'll see. It's a hairline crack right now, but I think depending on what I turn, I can make it work. So let's get started. So when I start a new project, I like to stare at the wood for a little bit and listen to what it tells me about what it should become.
Hey honey, I think you should turn me into a bowl. Look at my smooth lines. I would make a really nice bowl. Come on honey, you know you're gonna do it. Just turn me into a bowl already.
Honey? Honey? So after I got this cleaned up, I realized I didn't have to do that because I'm going to be starting with the live center, or with the center. So my bandsaw hasn't been working great, which is why I didn't cut off the corners as I should have. I went back later and tried to cut off the corners, but like I said, I need to change the blade or do a complete tune-up on my bandsaw or something. But I did eventually get it around. So as you can see, I did get some of the corners off, and then I just grabbed my hand planer to try and get them down a little bit more. It did help getting it round a little faster. So you can see I pulled out my new chisels, Benjamin's Best. I recorded a little unboxing video, but I don't know if I'm going to post it or not. Anyway, this is my first time using a roughing gouge, and it wasn't too bad. There's a lot more knots in the wood than I thought there'd be, but eventually I realized that center wasn't doing it, and I was going to have to get a tenon on that side as my main priority so I could get that tightened down. So there was apparently a couple times that I forgot to hit record, but I did get a tenon cut on here, and it made it a lot easier to turn.
Ooh yeah, we're ready for some serious cutting now. I'm ready for my new life as a bowl. Whee!
I'm still learning a lot with the gouges and the cutting techniques, so I don't know that I'm getting as much off as I could. Sharpening is probably going to be an issue too, but I think for the first time really using them, I did okay. Of course, I ended up going back to what I know when I needed to get some more shaping, because it's easier for me, because that's just what I know right now. I'll keep learning with the chisels though, and eventually I'll be able to do the whole thing with the gouges. Right, and right here, I just wanted to put a bottom tenon. That's not really a tenon. What is that called? But yeah, I wanted to grip it from the bottom as well as the top, so that I can flip it around and work on both ends. I did keep going back to the cutting tools because I wanted to try and get as clean of a cut as possible. But with the end grain, it really didn't seem to matter. It was just always going to be a little rough. So I'm not going to bore you going through all of my sanding routine, but I would take down the high spots with the drill, then go over it from 120, 240, 320, 400 to 600. And then I would put on some friction polish, or clean it with denatured alcohol, then throw on the friction polish, a couple layers of that built up. And right here, I was just trying to get the bottom done so I can flip it and start working on the side and the top.
Hey, wait a minute. Why do I feel like I'm not gonna be a bowl? Oh no, what are you doing? Ow!
Okay, so the parting tool that came with the Benjamin's Best set is apparently crap because I couldn't get it to do anything. So I am just cutting the lid off the board with a saw, which is kind of a pain in the ass, but I got the job done. Okay, so here I'm using the bowl gouge that came with the Benjamin's Best set, and it's okay for my first time. I just watched a couple videos and they said ride the bevel, so that's what I did. I ended up pulling out the carbide because it was a lot faster for hollowing out the middle though. You can really see the difference here in how much material is being taken out between the carbide and the bowl gouge. Maybe eventually I'll get better with the bowl gouge so that it goes faster, but this thing just took it out. Both the carbide that I'm using here are tools that I made myself, which is really not too difficult. There's a video if you want to see that. So that little catch right there, I did with the bowl gouge. It got caught and ripped a chunk out. I made do with it, and you'll see later how I kind of used that in the design of the final product. So this is just a 5-inch sanding disc that I cut to the holes and then put on the drill. Again, it was mostly the same sanding as before, and then went back and did the friction paste, or friction polish. So for the lid, I just put an inset in so that I can flip it around and get rid of the tenon, and then put on the little handle. Okay, this is a piece of cherry that I picked up recently from the local wood trimming group. They had a wood grab, and this is an offcut from one of the pieces I picked up, but it was still fairly wet, but it seemed to dry pretty quick. This was also a good excuse to get out the spindle gouge and practice with that some. Also an excuse to play with the skew, which I am still not very good at. But from what I understand, it is one of the hardest ones to master. So the piece of wood broke in half as I was working it, but I was almost done with this part, so I just pulled it up, tightened it into the chuck, and sanded it and polished it. So apparently I forgot to hit record for this entire sequence. Sorry about that. Okay, so there we are. All in all, I think it turned out pretty good. There was some hard turning There were some knots in the wood that I didn't expect. I mean, I knew the way I was turning it there was going to be some, but these are at right angles, and there didn't seem to be any branches on the wood that I picked, and I picked it specifically for that, but it looks like there's a couple knots in there that made it challenging to get clean and turn clean. But I think it turned out pretty good. The spurtle is cherry. There's some cherry I picked up recently. It's I'll probably redo it later. I don't know. I think it was a little wet, so it didn't turn as nicely as I liked, but it still looks nice. And the little top piece is, of course, part of that cherry also. But there we go. And this is what the wood told me to make out of it. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time on DDS Workshop.
This is not what I had in mind. Oh, bother.